guys will sit there and complain about their business from the last 3 years. Then I'll ask them to do something like putting together a 12-month plan, break it into, quarterly goals and then monthly. And all of a sudden I get the pushback and says, I've got no time for that. I'm busy keeping Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner happy. And I'm like, okay, well, we're at a bit of an impasse, aren't we? How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I am your host. I'm the CEO and president here at Smith & Sons Canada, and I am the ambitious founder of EliteBusinessAdvisory.com. Great to have you along for the ride as usual. Excellent if you've just checking us out for the first time, you've just dropped in. Appreciate you doing that. And of course, if you're a long-time listener, I appreciate you hanging in there with me and getting to know me. It's interesting because when I first meet one of you on a Zoom call, it's amazing how much you know about me, whereas I don't know much about you. So bear with me. It could take me a minute if you do get on a Zoom call with me. But if you want to do that and have a quick chat with me about a little bit about business and how we go about coaching our contractors, please do not hesitate. Do not be afraid. Go to EliteBusinessAdvisory.com, hit the blue book a consultation button and come and have a chat with me. No hard sell. We'll just talk about what's going on in your business life, what your goals are, and see if I can drop some value and really give you some context about maybe what you should be doing next. So don't forget, one of these drops every week. Like and subscribe. And be sure to check out Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. There's a good community of guys and gals over there, everything from apprentices to builders and general contractors and everything in between. Good place to ask a few questions. And just see if we can't move the needle in the positive direction, seeing that 50% of builders go out of business in the first 5 years. So if you're still in there and you're still making some money, good for you. Righto, today I think that's about all the intro and all the housekeeping. Today I'm going to quickly chat about personal and business goals as well as practicing patience. Now, the team knows that I probably am going to speak to myself a lot in this episode because I have a tendency to be a little impatient. I think I might have made mention in a recent podcast that one of my mentors, ex-Navy SEAL Coach Mac, he calls me through the front door freight train Max, and that's just because I like to get shit done. So, guys and gals, today we're going to just quickly chat about how your personal goals and your business goals are very interactive, and that I know we don't want to know, but we have to understand it does take time to produce a result. Sometimes it's a short amount of time, but more often than not, it's a mid to long term. So, I think that a lot of the time when I'm starting to try to figure out what's my next move, a lot of that short-term decision-making comes from a long-term analysis. And so I've said before that we overestimate what we can achieve in 12 months, but we underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. And so, 10 years you go, whoa, that's a long time. But, I sit here as a 51-year-old with a 22, 23-year-old daughter, and it seems like yesterday that she was born. So, that couple of decades went by fairly quickly, and odds on is the next couple are going to go as quick. So we need to make the most of every single day and really just think about. So what we don't want to do is sacrifice our personal goals to achieve our business goals, and what we don't want to do is really sacrifice our business goals because we find the personal side of our lives begins to dominate, and we become less productive and efficient and effective in our business. And then of course we've just got the patience thing is very organic, and we've got to monitor that on the way through. So who's ever had a business that when you look over your shoulder over the last 5 years, it didn't quite go to plan? Right. That's what I'm talking about. And so, as we get further down the page here, I'm going to be talking about how that leaders are able to set goals, put together a plan, but also have the security and ability to be able to reset goals. So, really where we're going to start is we're going to write down some of these goals that, in a very clear format. I think that you can't hit a target, that you can't see. And so they need to be, and this is why we'll talk about the integration or the blend between personal goals in a minute and business. But we have to write down clear goals, both personal and business. And the reason is because what we don't want to do is have these grandiose business goals, which your personal life is really not going to be able to cash those checks. And of course, if you've got really great business goals, you've got to obviously have the time and the money perhaps to achieve those personal goals. And so, you've really got to drive the business. So I really want you to understand that focusing on personal goals and business goals, writing those down with a high level of definition, is super important. So obviously there's a mutual influence between, just like I've been outlining, your personal goals will often influence or drive business decisions, okay? And vice versa. We moved to Canada. There was no business decision that drove that. However, off the back of that, we began to make, we would set personal goals and they were driven by the business and then vice versa. So there's certain things that I've had to do in my personal life because the business, let's say, needed some adjustment. And so that's really important. So, the part about integration and blending is really, we want to make sure that we don't just compartmentalize business goals over here and then we put, personal goals over here. So for you, for me, personal example, I'm not a big things, bling kind of guy. I really don't. I wear the same uniform every day because I don't have to think about it. I just wake up and it's hanging up and I grab it and I go. I race go-karts, I play a little bit of electric guitar, and I have a reasonably late model pickup truck. But other than that, I really don't, and I love my office and where we work. I don't really sort of need more than that. However, I have got my eye on a pontoon boat and a 4-day weekend. And for the people around me that know me, I don't talk about that very often, but it's definitely for me. I was just outside the office here, and it's a very nice fall or autumn day, blue skies, fresh air. But during the summer here, we've got great lakes very close to the office. And so, for me, part of the reward for developing, the business to a certain level, myself and the wife, and obviously the kids will tag along as well whenever they want, to be able to sit out in the lake for a couple of days over the weekend and just take in the panorama and, just enjoy some actual relaxation. That to me may not be a lot for some people, but it's going to be plenty for me. So, I've got to drive the business to a certain level, or I should say businesses. And then at some point I will be able to make a very, prudent decision around being able to sort of make that purchase personally. Unless I can claim it as a tax deduction. Now, that's got me thinking a little bit. Maybe we could put some stickers on the side of that one, Dom, and we take some clients out. So if you're a client of EBA or a franchisee, you'd be welcome on our pontoon boat. I'm sure Jason's going to be freaking out if I drop that on his desk. Okay, Jason's my accountant. All right, right. So we really want to start also, goal mapping is important because we really want to be able to sort of really outline how it's all going to happen. And I talk a lot about, especially to new elite business advisory coaching clients, that I kind of got to know where you want to be in 12 months. Now, it's easy for me to look retrospectively, create some baselines, turn around and look at what they've done for the last 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, and go, on average, are you happy with the outcome? Now, of course, that's a rhetoric loaded question. But at the end of the day, I just want to find out where their head's at, because I want to know, are we jumping for a big goal or are we doing something that's reasonably conservative? If it's too conservative, I will probably push it more to a stretch goal. If I think it's a little bit out of sight and out of reach, I'll be say, hey, let's tone it down a little bit. Again, we overestimate what we can do in 12 months. And so, that is that really, I guess, calming type influence, a business coach has, in the fact that it's a good way to qualify and talk about what's going on. And so, really what we're talking about is making those SMART goals. So we're talking about specific goals, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. They have a deadline on them. And so as we develop some clarity around that, then what we do is we take that 12 months and we split the year into quarters. and we go, right, what have I got to achieve in each of these quarters? And then we can back it up again and go, right, to achieve that outcome in the first 90 days, what do I need to do in each month of those 3 months to help me step up to that first quarterly goal? So, this is really, it comes down to it, because now the side note is, Max, I'm such a scatterbrain. I've got shit going everywhere. And anytime I sit still, I don't want to think about work. And I get it. And I understand where you're coming from. But welcome to the world of business. And so, we have to, as much as, it's like this. Hey, guys and gals, I feel, I know how you feel. I feel the same way. But what I found is that it's the discipline in controlling that emotion that says, I will. And I'll harness the power of intent, because guys will sit there and complain about their business from the last 3 years. Then I'll ask them to do something like putting together a 12-month plan, break it into, quarterly goals and then monthly. And all of a sudden I get the pushback and says, I've got no time for that. I'm busy keeping Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner happy. And I'm like, okay, well, we're at a bit of an impasse, aren't we? And so this is why personal development and understanding that disciplining yourself as a leader is massively part of the goal. And is it easy? No. Is it possible? Of course it is. Is it worth it? Absolutely. But it takes you as a different person to really be able to understand that it's part of your responsibility as a business owner. Right. A couple of common pitfalls, I suppose, is you want to avoid sacrificing your personal life for business. Probably my position is that, I've got a fairly solid household, a fantastic wife, and she is very solid when it comes to, running that household and raising our kids and what she does. So I have the freedom or the luxury or the blessing to be able to sort of really double down on what I do on the business front. My wife, just for the record, really had no desire to be a career gal. She always wanted kids, and we've got a few. And so there's some, where I'm not sacrificing my personal life for the business at this point. Although personally, as the level of emotion that I carry tends to, bleed out in the home setting. And of course, that's always a concern. It's like, how much is enough? I'm sure the wife and kids don't want to listen to me about my, the shit that goes on at the office sometimes, okay? But I'm human. That's what we do when we absorb each other's idiosyncrasies. So I ain't no marriage counselor, but what have I been married now? 30 years coming up, 1995, so August next year, 30 years. Right, the role of patience, okay. Patience in goal achievement. Building substantial outcomes takes time. And this is where I'm giggling, because I just don't, I want it yesterday. Can we have it yesterday? Things don't quite, you work your ass off for so long, and you would think, actually, I think there's a country song that talks about I should be a millionaire by now. Have you heard that one, Dom? No, I can't remember who sings it. But anyway, you might be able to tell me. Drop it in the comments. And, it says, I thought I would have been on the West Coast driving a Porsche and be a millionaire by now. And I think for the most part, a lot of us business owners, we don't appreciate how much ground that we have made or covered or the things that we've achieved. And so, I think we've got to understand that it takes as long as it takes. Now, if it doesn't happen the way you want it, it's going to be two reasons: external forces and internal forces. It's going to be mostly a combination of the both. Okay, so where I've maybe had business that's gone pear-shaped, I can attribute that failure to an external thing, right? But at the same time, you've got to ask yourself, how much of an influence did I have on that? Was there indecision? Was there lack of planning? Was I being too adventurous? Was I being too trusting? So there's very much tangibles to where you didn't achieve your goals, but there's certainly intangibles in me as well. There is some psychological influences based on the fact that I'm trying to lead my business, you're trying to lead your business. We're not perfect. I know that might strike you as that's a bit of a wow, but we do have a lot to know, a lot to learn, and there's so much more to know about what we're doing in our area, in our business. Okay. Now, here's the biggest killer too. You've got to avoid comparison. Every business owner has a unique journey and a unique story. And so I think you've just got to put the blinkers on. This is probably something I do pretty well. I'm blessed to have business partners and past employers and, people that I hang around with who've done really well and are very secure in who they are. And it never makes me feel like I've got to keep up with the Joneses. I think too many people, and, you talk about avoiding comparison. It's just, it's so sinister. You will, guys and gals, have a think about this. You might have done this in the past. You might be about to do this, or you might know somebody who has done this and you can see it from afar. But what they do is they take money they don't have, they buy shit they don't need to impress people who don't give a rat's ass. So just think about that for 1 second. I mean, we're only here for a very short time, and we really got to focus on that that matters and really put together the list of priorities that is going to serve you at the highest level. Having the latest and greatest is not going to do anything for you. I tell you what I don't do a lot of, and that is clothes shopping. I mean, every 5 years I buy a couple of nice, T-shirts, Quicksilver or Vans shirts, like literally every 5 years. And I'm not fussy on brands, really. I mean, I don't mind those, couple of brands, but, for the most part, I never ever feel like having to update often at all. And so, I think that's just, I guess that'll have something to do with my age and the maturity level, but also my level of security. There's not too much that I feel, I do this show. Obviously, I'm working with clients, 2 or 3 meetings every day. The franchise business, working sales on the retail front and the franchise front. So I'm talking a lot of time. And so I'm here to really serve at the highest level. And, so the difference that I can make in another human's life, which is why I put this show together, and we're at episode, what did we say, 208? It's because there's more to life than just currency. Now, do I love a hot-looking P&L? Absolutely I do. That's why I do it. But simultaneously, there's something that I like to do. So, do what makes you feel good, that's honorable. At the same time, you got to build that kick-ass business and make money. But just put your blinkers on, focus on you, worry about how you're doing. And this is where, when I get into a one-on-one zone with EBA clients or general contractors as a whole, I'm really looking at the human. I'm really focused on, mate, get your eyes back on the prize. Quit looking sideways. Focus on where you're going. Keep your head up and keep moving forward. Right, manage expectations. This is, built into the role of patience. Focus on consistent progress and realistic goals. So, guys, we can't just do something and go, right, I'll go back and visit that activity in 6 months. It's not going to happen. If I want a successful business, and I know you want a successful business, we have to be, there's got to be consistent progress as it relates to achieving our goals, and we've got to have realistic goals. So when you say, well, what's a realistic goal? I would say a realistic goal is one that is just out of reach, but not out of sight. So I need you to stretch. It's just not a goal if you're going to do it, with your arms tied behind your back and your eyes closed. That's not a goal, okay? The idea of a goal is to really stretch you, to really make you perform at a higher level than you currently are. Right, balancing ambition and patience. So, lasting success requires time. So, the idea of building the business that you want is going to take time, because I coach some legacy businesses. There's a couple of businesses in my group that are 3rd and 4th generation, and that's freaking epic, right? And so, but it takes a high level of ambition and a high level of patience to be able to build something that is going to be like that and have lasting success and value. It just takes a lot of time to put that together, right? The next thing, aligning goals and being patient. Long-term vision, connect both your personal and business goals for motivation. Let's go back to the pontoon boat thing. Every time, and this is the power of, sometimes it's got to be, it's like, I don't know particularly that setting a revenue target is a goal, although it is a metric that we are aiming at. Absolutely. So that really would come down to being, a very measurable target, but it's what I need you to put that together with is if I hit that $3 million sales mark or that $10 million sales mark, I am going to reward myself with this. Now, not just revenue, there might be a couple of other metrics. There'd be 3 or 4 other metrics that go with that to qualify whether or not, because there's no point in doing $10 million a year if you're not making any money. Okay, so we want to keep an eye on, the balance of that as well. But what we really want to do to really make it motivating is, for me, it's like, well, if I was to build my businesses to this, and this, that would be the trigger for me to go and buy that pontoon boat and start having 4-day weekends with the missus just sitting out on the lake getting a suntan. So I just need you to think, because what doesn't motivate me is hitting a $3 million goal or a $10 million goal. That actually doesn't motivate me, because it's just a target. I don't get motivated to look at the target down the scope of my 30-odd 6 and try and whack the middle of that bullseye. It's when I pull the trigger and see where that projectile went, that's what I get excited about, what just happened. Because so when I set a business goal, it's got to have something attached to it that moves me emotionally. So if I hit this business goal, I'm going to Hawaii for 2 weeks. Or if I hit this business goal, I am going to go and update my vehicle. Okay. And so, there's things I tell this story too. It's like guys specifically or particularly, they will go and look at a late model sports car, and then they will go, well, it's got airbags and it's, it can stop this fast and it's got big brakes and, it's all this sort of safety jargon they go on about. But really, they're motivated to buy it because it's got 650 brake horsepower and it cuts awesome burnouts and it looks ridiculously cool. So there's practical, which is the revenue target that you might set. And then there's the emotional part where you get to take some time off, or you get to go on that holiday you've been dreaming about forever. And so, you've got to couple those business goals together with the emotional driver, but then you've got to have the timeline set out and you've got to be patient, because we know, for me to launch a new building company in this town, even though it's part of the Smith & Sons group, I'm just another franchisee. It's taken me a while. We've been into this now 60, 90 days and I've not closed a single deal. Now, have we got a dozen on the boil? Yeah, absolutely we do. But it just, mate, I can't advance the deals any faster than what I am. I have a limited capacity, from a time perspective, and I don't control the clients. So all I can do is try and prompt and motivate and advance and then wait and see what happens. So, also we want to be flexible with goals and timelines. I was talking about this at the beginning of the show. You want to be able to set goals in accordance with the SMART type program, SMART, and then have the security, because I have missed goals more often than I've hit goals. And it doesn't stop me. See, if you miss goals, it can be a very disillusioning moment. You go, well, screw setting more goals. Max can go kick rocks. I'm not doing it anymore, and that's okay. But I wouldn't subscribe to that. That's not the way that we build businesses. What I've got to do is have the security to be able to say, well, look, we didn't hit the goal that we thought we were going to. We probably could do a lot better in this area, this area, and this area, and that would help us. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add another 6 months to our deadline and get after it again. That's what you need to do. It's called setting and resetting. And really it comes down to your level of security, because if we don't achieve, that can be very disillusioning. And we go, well, I don't like the pain of failure, so I'm not going to set another goal. See, so you need to embrace the failure, because it's a prerequisite to your education and learning, so that when you go back around again to execute, you do it much better. Trust me, I'll definitely talk more about that in about 12 months based on, some of the stuff that we're going through currently. So really some practical tips there. Just assess and align your goals, and then practice patience daily. That really really sums it up. I think we've got to get more calculated in this regard. Remember, I've talked about in the past being in a manager mode, which is where a lot of us exist on a daily grind basis. But there is parts of you and your week you've got to designate, or at least make time to go into the creation side of your business. So you're over here on management side, but over here you want to be in maker side. You want to be able to sort of create, and part of that is goal setting. And because there's nothing worse than sitting in a room with someone like me, and I go, right, what's your goal? And you're like, mate, I have no idea. because it's easy to set a revenue target because there's no real emotion tied to that. You don't know why you want to do 3 million, 5 million, 10 million. But if you said to me, I want to do 5 million because then I can get a pontoon boat because we got lake close to it and I want to have a 4-day weekend with my wife as well. See, one is just an action, an activity, a target. The other one is actually what's the knock-on or the ripple effect. And that's what we would call the why. That's got a strong emotional tie to it. So, guys and gals, get after it. Really, identify the areas where you need to apply, patience, and reframe some of those targets and those goal sets, and really start thinking about that strategically. Because I'm telling you, once you start to define that, you will suddenly become motivated because the onus is on us today. What have I got to do today to achieve that goal in 12 months? And then every day that you wake up, you've got a bit of a skip in your step. Now, if you're not executing well and you've got no systems and operations, you've got to talk to me. Hit the book a consultation button at elitebusinessadvisory.com. Come and have a chat with me. I'm running out of spots. I wouldn't say I've got a lot of room for more coaching clients because it's just me and I'm running, other stuff on the fly, but I'd be happy to have a quick chat with you and just see where you're up to and help out where I can. Get across to B4B VIP or Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. If you're going to get into that, you got to answer the questions and then I'll let you in. Okay, if you don't answer the questions honestly, then I'm not letting you in. Simple as that. I don't want that community to be filled with knuckleheads that just want to go and rape and pillage. So that's why I put those little roadblocks in there. All the honest, good-looking people, you're already in there. And if you're good-looking and honest, you're welcome to join us as well. Like and subscribe. One of these drops every week. Maybe even share the podcast, share the show. Maybe there's someone you know that could maybe do with some of this input. Other than that, go build a kick-ass business. I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.